welcome to the final of our 6-week health and wellness webinars from the ICBE Aviation SkillNet. Today, our presenters are once again high performance and executive coaches Jason Kenny and Declan Dore from KD Corporate Wellness. I'm sure most people have heard the introduction before, but for those who are new, Jason is a fitness and nutrition specialist, sports psychology coach, and has a degree in training and education. He's an active competitor, having represented Ireland abroad, winning several world, European, and Irish titles. He's also a martial arts instructor with over 30 years' experience. Declan is an inspirational trainer and executive coach, having recovered from a life-threatening brain injury where he was told he would possibly never walk, talk, or get the use of his face back again. Declan now teaches tools for mental wellness to survive and thrive in both your personal and work lives. Today's topic area is exercise, and I'll let the lads reveal how detailed that's going to be. I hope you have all your tracksuits ready. The ground rules for today: Jason and Declan will present for approximately 20 minutes, finishing up with a 10-minute Q&A. Once again, everyone is muted, but we encourage you to supply any comments or questions via the chat function, which we will call out at the end of the presentation. And without further delay, I'll pass you over to the lads in KD Corporate Wellness.
Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who's been on this 6-week journey with us. And, you know, this is the last one, but we're really looking forward to it. And hopefully you'll be able to get something from today's one on the exercise side of things. So we're going to get straight into it and creating the optimum health. You can see here there's mental, nutrition and exercise, and the three really collaborate very well. But the first thing is the mental side of it when it comes to exercise. And once you get the mental side of, you know, committing to yourself, you want to do something, do some bit of movement. You know, so it's very important to look into the nutrition, and then the exercise will start kicking in automatically.
Yeah, I suppose there's probably a fourth element to that as well. You could call it, if you wanted, the spiritual side of things, almost the meditative. And I suppose when you look at, we were talking about it there a second ago with the mental wellness, it's really important. And, you know, you can't really have one without the other. There's a natural chain, natural process. So unbeknownst to things that Owen started talking about it. And yeah, it's exactly part of our whole process is really. So I suppose one of the major things to do, and it's something that we do on a regular basis, is to actually sit down with yourself and give yourself a good needs analysis, a self-assessment, and you do this on a 24-hour period. Okay, so you sit down and you look at like, how am I sleeping? You know, how often do I sit down during the day? And that could be to email, it could be to take calls, even to drive in a car if you have the opportunity to do so now. To, you know, whatever it is you're doing, and how often I'm moving throughout the day. It might sound like a crazy exercise, but you'd be shocked at how often you spend seated rather than actually physically moving, you know.
And the self-assessment, I think, is a very powerful thing. I remember a couple of weeks ago when we started getting into this whole COVID-19, and I found myself getting lazy for the first week and a half. And I really found it affected me, actually. And I found myself getting pretty negative upstairs. And that's not me at all. And I was like, what's going on? And I was like, I need to do something about this. But the minute I started moving my body and getting a bit of exercise and going again, I just felt good again, you know, and things were able to start moving forward and in a positive light. So I think it's very important to look at that and have that self-assessment. If you feel you're going and feeling a little bit down or off kilter, just do some bit of movement, a bit of exercise.
Yeah, and look, throughout this COVID-19, and it's quite clear and quite apparent, and it's there right in front of us on the screen, it's the connection between the two is so important, and more so now than ever, trying to make that connection between your mental health and your well-being, but also your physical. So you're connecting mind and body together, and you're creating that optimal you. And the last thing you want to do is to be throwing yourself onto a sofa, and like Declan was just saying there, you get into a kind of a rut because you're outside of your norm, and you're trying now to restructure. So that self-assessment is a real powerful tool just to have if you kind of consider that at the start of your day or the start of your week even.
And then Jason just touched about the couch potato there. You know, we all go through these phases where we become couch potatoes. I know for me, that's a big thing where I do like to actually sometimes just switch off and chill out and become a couch potato. I had a big couch potato day yesterday, and it was great. But I know today I really need to move the body to release some of the stuff that I put into my body yesterday. But it's important to look at it, for yourself. Are you couch potato versus an active couch potato?
Yeah, so I suppose this is probably a new term is coined. Basically, you have this active couch potato versus the couch potato. So what you have is, everyone knows what a couch potato is. You sit there and you're kind of sedentary, lazy, and your brain just switches off. And we all need those days, by the way. Really important. Sofa Sunday, as I call it. Sit there and just chill out, whatever it may be. But an active couch potato is somebody who is doing 30 minutes to 20 minutes or whatever it is, or an hour of activity throughout the day. And that's it. And they spend the rest of their time seated and involved in other activities like we were talking about earlier on. It could be emailing or whatever it is they're doing, or in cars and traveling and so on and so forth. And sometimes it doesn't allow you to do that because of your job or whatever it is. But just to be conscientious of the fact that the difference between physical exercise and physical activity are very, very different. Exercise is a very concentrated, particular, dedicated process, whereas the physical activity is just very simply how much and how often you move throughout the day.
I think one thing we'd like to put up there now actually is the poll. Owen, if you don't mind, you might put up the first poll question there and get a good feel for everyone here on the call. Is exercise a priority in your day? So do you put exercise as a priority in your day, especially now with everything that's going on? It's a yes or a no answer. So do you put exercise as a priority in your day?
You might be surprised at the results. There's a lot of
hopefully.
Yeah. I'll share. I won't do any spoilers. I'll share it with you now.
Okay. So the result is, oh wow, very good. We are surprised. Is exercise a priority in your day? 76% said yes, and 24% said no. So that's very, very good. Fair play to everybody here on that. And it's to be very easy not have exercise as a priority now and just stay inactive and sit down and watch Netflix and look at all different type of programs each day. So maybe we might go into the second poll there now on, because it's very relevant to the next few slides that we're going into.
Sure.
So the next poll is: are you confused about what exercise you should be doing? So whatever it is that may be holding you back, or maybe you are doing exercise, but are you any bit confused about what type of exercise you should be doing? So Owen is smiling here again.
Yeah, well, it's neck and neck by the looks of things. Okay, that's the last one to come in.
Okay, so it's 55% said yes and 45% said no.
Wow. Yeah, well, it's kind of almost split down the middle, so to speak. Yeah, you know what? It's kind of one of those areas that people get lost in. The internet is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal area to learn in. YouTube is great. Plenty of people out there giving advice. That's the problem. It's putting it all together. It's having a fantastic jigsaw puzzle. It looks amazing when it's made, but it's making it is the issue. Not knowing what to do and how to structure it for you is very important. Doing something that's designed for me or designed for Declan or whoever, it's not going to work necessarily for you, or then it may. And that's the concern. So you really need to understand why you're doing something and not actually just physically go in there willy-nilly. So again, I suppose just sticking with the physical activity versus exercise. So physical activity, it's very clear, very apparent, and just on this slide alone, physical activity is movement that is carried out by the skeletal muscles that requires energy. So in other words, any movement one does is actually physical activity. So that's moving, no matter what I do throughout the day, moving my hands now, getting up, standing, moving around, whatever, that's physical activity. Exercise, this is what I was harping on at the start. It's a planned and structured, repetitive and intentional movement. Okay, so you're doing something to improve or to maintain your physical fitness, or something with a particular goal or whatever it is you have in mind. And that's the difference between the two. So just be cognizant of that.
And when it comes to the benefits of exercise, you know, there was loads of different studies and stuff done out there. And for me personally, I absolutely love any studies that are done around the brain because of my own brain injury. You know, before my brain injury, I was just super fit, super athletic, constantly into sport. After the brain injury, my sport went out the window, my exercise went out the window for years and years and years. And that was a hard thing to take on board. I barely had to learn how to do everything again. But the thing about it was, once eventually I started moving my body again, I just started making small little steps. You know, the next day make more steps, the following day. So I just kept on building on that. So wherever you might be, just build on your routine, build on your exercise routine. But the studies that are done on the brain, it's incredible how better you feel when you actually get out and just even take 5, 10, 15 minutes of a movement exercise or whatever it might be away from your desk, especially now if you're behind your computer, which most of us are now, and you're just constantly getting these, you know, whatever it is, emails, phone calls, Zoom calls, whatever they are. It's important to remove yourself from it so you're not constantly stuck behind a screen, because you can see here, even on the left and the right, the difference on moving the body. It really does reactivate the brain and makes you feel better.
Yeah, this is such a powerful area. I think this is one of the if anything else you take away today, just to understand the power of exercise. What's released is a serum in the brain called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. I got it right. We always just abbreviate everything in the fitness industry. So basically what that is it's released because the brain has a whole restructure and infrastructure of creating neurons and recreating neurons and fixing and repairing and so on and so forth. And this serum, what they did was they got the serum itself and were able to put it onto neurons in a petri dish, and it started to automatically to sprout new cells, new what you call, I don't know what you really call them, really kind of stems or whatever, and they were fascinated by this. But another study that was done was just on even going for a run or going out for a very brief or very fast walk. And what they did was if you ran for about 10, 15 minutes prior to doing a talk, it improved your short-term memory tenfold. Basically, it allowed you to actually memorize something. So if you're going on stage to do a talk or whatever it was, you'd remember your speech or whatever your presentation was. But the real enjoyment and factor of all of this was when they actually did the study and realized that after you did learning and went for a run, you could remember 2 and 3 days later. So and they fell on this by accident. It wasn't something that they set out to do. So it's a very fascinating area. And the problem is with the brain, by the age of 20, we start to reduce the volume of our brain. It starts to decrease in mass. Now, I don't know if there's a direct link in terms of intelligence and stuff like that, but certainly the mass of the brain starts to reduce in size. So the problem is with that is exercise increases size and mass, and it does the very same with the hippocampus, which is basically where all our learning and all our processing happens. So you can see that exercise in itself is a very powerful tool for increasing and also increases happy hormones and endorphins and all sorts.
And exercise has been shown to elevate mood, which has serious implications for workplace performance. So it's just to look at that for yourself. Do you find yourself, and I'm sure it happens most people, I know sometimes it happens to me, where I'm at work or I'm at my computer and I just feel like, I just really don't want to be here, or you just feel like this is just one of these Groundhog Days, and I'm sure we're going through Groundhog Days now at the moment, everybody is. It's about removing yourself again, and I know we keep on talking about this, but it's removing yourself from whatever situation you're in that could be making you feel negative, could be making you feel down or anxiety or whatever it might be. Remove yourself. We're going to go back to the breath again, get some breathing into you, breathe in, breathe out, release whatever might be going on for you, and move your body some bit.
So the whole... I suppose the thing is, with a lot of us, is we spend an awful lot of time making comparisons, and this is something that we kind of harper on a bit as well. The thing is that comparative thief, he comes in and he looks at what you had set in your mind, and then suddenly you walk in and you look at something on the screen and go, I'd really like to look like that. and then your mind goes off on that track onto Instagram, Facebook, Snapchats, Twitters. It can be LinkedIn. It can be anything at all, whatever it may be. But we have a comparison. We always put ourselves and compare it to somebody else. I find it with clients, and what Declan is the same, that when we're getting people to do something, it's such a thrill to have them to try and do a chin-up by the end of the year, to be able to do 10 push-ups that they couldn't do at the start of the year, now they can do at the end of the year, or even in a month's time, depending on what your goal is. That to me has more value and carries more weight than trying to get skinny and look like the person next door who is ripped and whatever it is. But that's not how you should see it. You should see exercise, you should see nutrition, you should see your well-being as a complete package rather than just simply trying to be on the beach and looking phenomenal.
So the health process, so this is the complete health process.
My apologies.
It's just something to look at for yourselves here. We're just going to go around it one by one. When it comes to the mental commitment, is obviously the first thing. You've got to be committed to what it is you want to do. And when it comes to the exercise, it's about having a mental commitment that you're going to do it. Like there's some mornings there where I really don't want to do some exercise. I'm just like, no, I do not want to do this. But then the override inside me goes, okay, I know I'm going to feel good after this. But then there's another side going, no, I really don't want to do it. So there's this internal battle that sometimes happens. But when I have the mental commitment put in, I just get up and I go and I do it. And then when I have it done, I'm like, I'm so glad I've done that. Where if I don't do it, there's that little gremlin inside my head going, for God's sake, why didn't I do that this morning?
Yeah, there's that, and that's good. That's a great thing to have, by the way. Is that guilt factor, because that guilt can drive you on and can be a motivator in itself. But if you look at the first three, they're the main areas to start with. So I get clients all the time who come to me and say they want to lose weight, or they want to bulk up, or they want to tone, or whatever they want to do. And really, you have to sit with them and kind of see where they are in their life currently. If they're not ready and committed to do something, it ain't going to happen. So in order for you to do it for yourself, it's a decision you're deciding to make for yourself. That mental commitment, once you've decided to do it, take a small step. The first thing, now a lot of people will jump from mental to exercise, and then they'll come back eventually up to diet. The reason why we have it this way is you should go mental, and then you can start your food. We can start our food today, right now, and then we can plan our exercise. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier on, is having a complete and good structure for your exercise. Fitting something in is going to work for you, but also looking at the fact that you need to be physically active throughout your day. So getting up every 5-10 minutes, just standing up from the computer, standing up, sitting down, moving away from it. Those small little things can all help you just to be active throughout the day. Obviously, it's going to lead to weight loss or weight gain, whichever it is your goals are. Toning, fitness, it can lead to all sorts of things. Eventually, your immune system starts to benefit from it. Your goals, targets start to change. And there's a full cycle here. And it really increases your health, and it comes back to what Declan says. Eventually, you feel that, God, I don't want to do it, but I know how I feel afterwards, and now I know the benefits of it. So it's a very, very important process.
So now we're going to go into some simple solutions for you. And one thing is the actual stand-up desks. And this is something that has become a big thing now, and it's become more aware especially over the last while, is stand-up desks. And it's something that, if you can look into doing it, it's very, very powerful. And we put this picture here on the right-hand side for you. And it's something to look at. It's vardydesk.com. And it's these little stand-up desks that you can get. And they range from €150 right up to €500, all depending on what type of stand-up desk you'd like to invest in. But it's something definitely worth looking into, because, instead of sitting behind the computer all day and your back is getting sore, your neck is getting sore, it's good to be able to stand up and actually be working at waist height and actually moving your body as you're actually doing, your work. It's very, very beneficial and worth looking into.
Because remember, when you move around on your legs, it is one half your body. So think of that. And your leg muscles are a very large muscle. So the larger the muscle and the more movement you put into that particular muscle group, the more blood is created and pumped throughout the body. So morning routines obviously are something that are so important. We spoke about it even last week. It's all about having that connection, I suppose, with yourself, number one, enjoying that quiet space. It also, like, running is fascinating. I did a run there last weekend, and you know what? You get out the road there and it's quiet. You almost get into a dreamlike state. It's almost meditative in itself. There's no one around. It's just a beautiful kind of environment, and the feeling you have after it is almost euphoric. And I'm not a huge fan of running. Just want to point that out. I really, to be honest with you, I never liked it. But it's one of those things that I started doing, and I've only started doing recently, and I realise now the importance of that. But look, it doesn't have to be running. Your morning routine is so important for you. It's for everything involved, from the oxygen intake, from your whole joints, from that, loosening things up in the body, getting the blood and all those juices flowing for your day. And you feel like you've started your day off on a real high. So it's something that we really, really recommend. No matter what it is, you try and find your one that works for you.
Or here's one we'd encourage you. Oh, and this could be a good one for you to start today there on the right-hand side. 334 calories on you'll burn when you start cleaning the windows today. Can you imagine that?
My wife will be absolutely thrilled with that particular statistic that I might not share with her.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You can even get it to over 400 if you started hoovering afterwards.
Well, bizarrely, I've started looking at household duties in a new way. And I've been looking at them literally from an exercise point of view. So rather than dreading or hating doing it, I kind of went, well, actually, the vacuum cleaner, which reminds me of the Karate Kid, roulette, wax on, wax off.
Exactly.
And I'm trying to reposition in my own head how I approach those tasks to be exercise as well.
That's brilliant, Doug. But see, that's a whole mind shift. You know what I mean? It's a whole, you flip the switch there and turn it into something positive, which is fantastic because, cleaning windows for most people isn't an enjoyable process. But if you actually look at it like you're exercising, you're waxing on, waxing off, it can be very, very beneficial from a movement perspective. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, no, it's good. And again, it's just taking that whole exercise and physical activity and combining the two together. So you can see that it has to be done. You have to do the laundry, you have to do the hoovering and the cleaning, and all these things have to be done anyway. So why not do it and move with a purpose? And I think that's really important. So some of the other things that we look at is just having things in front of you, having, the opportunity to have items that are there right at your disposal. So one of the things that we do quite often is we might have, like what you see here is like the gym ball. So we often sit in it when we're at our desk, so you're constantly moving around when you're at your desk. You're on it, so you're constantly moving back and forth on the gym ball. It's helping your core, you're moving around. It's really important, again, to do something like that when it's in your sitting room or watching TV, So you said, you know what? I'll watch the program there and I'll kind of do a bit of yoga, I'll do a bit of whatever maybe you decide to do. You may not decide to do cardio, but you might decide to do sit-ups or some push-ups or some nice stretches, some flexibility movements. Have some bands around, some of the rubber bands are fantastic for a bit of resistance and things like that. Small little things, even a small little light dumbbells that are only 1 kilo in weight. But if you don't have that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter because there's so many household products you can use, from cans of beans to bags of sugar. Hopefully you don't have loads of them in their house, but anything that's available that can add a bit of weight, even bottles of water, all adds a little bit of extra. But again, sit in front of the TV, because what happens with the brain when it becomes sedentary, and you see this through animals and nature and things like that, they even say that, I remember watching a documentary about the koala bear and how they used to have quite a larger brain, and they discovered that they could eat the eucalyptus tree and they didn't need to move very far, so they just stayed at the eucalyptus tree. So as a result, over generations and over time, the brain actually reduced in size, and this has happened throughout nature. So the more you move, the more you increase the mass of your brain. So I'm telling you, there's a direct correlation to high intelligent people.
So with our last slide, as you evaluate your 24-hour activity reflection, consider making a detailed plan that includes both elements. It's daily increased physical activity and in structured, planned, intentional exercise to improve physical fitness. So it's important to have a self-assessment as you do with your own work environment. Do it with your own exercise routine. You know, instead of just jumping into something and going, sure, I'll do a bit of exercise here, or sure, I'll do this, I'll do that. Put a plan around your exercise when you're actually going to do something and what you're going to do.
Super stuff. So that's kind of us for today. The exercise one is a very, very dear one to our hearts. We do it all the time. It's how we start our day. It's the first thing we do. The morning will not stop, or will not begin or end rather, till we have exercise completed. And you can understand why. We see the benefits of it. We know what happens when we don't do it. But I just want to point out something as well I think is very important, is that constantly exercising and overdoing it adds excess stress to the body. So you need to understand that you need to take time off, relax and rest as well. So a good sofa day, a good day downtime. You can call it active rest if you want to call it that, where you just simply go for a walk, something nice and calming, something relaxing, but not to put stresses on the body, because the body needs time to repair and grow. And you don't grow in the gym, you don't grow when you're rowing, or running, but you grow when you're actually resting and sleeping and repairing when you're recovering and when you're at rest and ease. So.
And when we say exercise every morning, it doesn't have to be actual physical exercise. Like there's one thing I know I do every single morning. It's a routine I do every morning, is I'll stretch my body every morning. And it could be just for 5 or 10 minutes. But sometimes it'll go for longer. But it's something I always do every morning. And there's a thing I have which is called a back baller, which I just lie down in and I roll out my muscles. And it could be for 10, 15. It could even, there's some mornings I will go for 30 to 40 minutes rolling my body out. I'll just get up first thing in the morning, get the water into me is the first thing I'll do. Get water into the body, hydrate my body, move my body a little bit, shake out, do some breathing exercises for a minute or 2 minutes, and then I'm stretching my body and moving my body. So just get yourself a little morning routine. It's very, very powerful.
Right. Somebody used to point it out to me, it was to watch cats and what cats do, which is, you know, although they have this fast burst, you don't see cats out running 10Ks, but what you do see them doing is relentless stretching. Yeah. Stretching all the time. And then when it does come to that explosive exercise, that they're well tuned to do it. So some of you advise me to do more stretching and almost less exercise, or more stretching so I could do more exercise. We have time for questions, but I have a few lined up. So please, people, either throw them into chat, or since it's the last one, feel free to unmute yourself, say your name, and just call out your comment or question. But can I ask you just first of all, because we've covered in some of the earlier ones, the importance of journaling. And is journaling for exercise important as well in terms of capturing what you've spoken about, scheduling it, so putting into schedule, which I think is really important. And then journaling, like how it makes you feel and what you've actually done. Does that help?
100%. 100%. Yeah, again, having a structure. Look, I see it all the time in the gym. People go in there and they go through the motions, and that's all they're doing. They were told that they need to do it for whatever reason. You get a lot of people in there they might be suffering from something. Could be diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or anything to whatever that effect is. And they're in there and they're just going through the motions. But to actually go in there with a purpose and to make that connection as to why you're actually doing something, is a completely different approach to training. So if you have a structured plan in place for yourself, going, right, this week, I don't know, let's use the gym as an example. So maybe Monday I'm going to do chest and triceps. Wednesday I'll do back and biceps, and on Friday I might do shoulders and legs, for example. So I know what I'm doing. I've broken the body down into 3 sections throughout the week, so I know. And in between those days, then I might say, well, look, on Tuesday then I'm going to do maybe a bit of cardio and abs, and on Thursday I'll do the same cardio and abs. And on Saturday and Sunday I'll just relax. Maybe on Saturday I'll do completely nothing, or on Sunday I might just go for a stroll or a walk just to reactivate the body and get myself ready again for Monday. And that's how you do it. You structure your day, and you put it down, and you structure your plan. Doing something and not having a plan is detrimental. It's not going to work.
Right. Could I ask you just the role of technology in exercise, and not equipment technology, but Declan, you've spoken before about your ding dong in terms of programming breaks during the day, especially in relation to mindfulness. But you know, the use of apps and Fitbits, and also the use of technology in terms of you know, YouTube sessions and things like that. Could you speak to us a little bit about the role of technology and how it can help?
Yeah, there's loads of different apps and things out there. You know, there's all different types, but the key is, like, whatever you decide to use it. You know, focus in on it instead of just jumping from one thing to another thing to another thing. Give something focus for a short period of time anyway, at least, just to see is it working for you. And if it's not working for you, then shift it to something that fits your routine, fits your personality maybe, you know. But it's very, very important to do that. And whatever you use, there's loads of stuff out there, but the key is to use it, you know, instead of just looking at it once or twice.
Yeah, you have a lot of software stuff that's out there now. You have everything from MyFitnessPal to any of the Fitbit programs. You have Garmin. I use Garmin quite a bit as well. Garmin Connect. Aura. It's an Aura ring. It's a wedding ring. It's an Aura ring. It's something you can check out. So all of these things, these are great tools. They'll check your heart rate variability, which is a huge factor in terms of recovery. Checks your sleep, how you're processing your sleep. Your Garmin's will look at, your Fitbits will look at how many steps you've taken. If I've taken 10,000 steps, I'm going to make sure I get 11 tomorrow. If I can't get 11, so I try and beat my score every time. So always be in competition with yourself, always be in competition with the day before, and try and be a better person the following day.
And even another thing Jason just touched on there, which I think is really, really good, is, you know, if you break your body down to different parts you want to work on, whatever it might be, and it could be, let's say it's your chest and your back, one day you want to work on that. And then it's just a matter of maybe looking up exercises for your chest and your back. And, okay, I'm going to work on my chest and the back on whatever, it could be Monday. And you mightn't even have these apps, but you might just Google it and just see, here's certain exercises to work on for your chest and your back. Focus in on that. Then whatever other part it is, Google it and see what it is and work on that part. You know, just get moving, get the process running instead of, like, I know for me, I'd use all these different types of excuses where, oh, I didn't have this or I didn't have that. Look up something now. Most of us are at home now, gyms aren't open. So look at home exercise, home routines. Look up something that will work on the specific areas you want to improve your own body on.
If you know the answer to this question, you'll have everyone extremely interested. So is there one exercise that's best for the whole body? You know, if you were to consider one, you've spoken a little bit about stretch, but is there one that, and maybe considering that a lot of people are sitting like both of us are now, or all three of us, in terms of, you know, at a desk, is there one exercise that captures everything?
Yeah, the one exercise, the most powerful exercise of a lot is the squat. And you can do that. You can do that now. We can all do that. So if I said to you today, okay, I'm going to set you a challenge to do 300 air squats today, and then follow that by 200 push-ups.
Would you mind, just as a final exercise, would you show us one exercise there? Stand back and do one exercise that you think that people today should do, either while we're at our computers now or perhaps at a later date.
You can do this. You can do this. So what you're doing is you're going to put your hands in front of you and you're just going to squat down in front of you like this. Okay. You're going to go to squat and you're just going to come back up. That's all you're going to do. And you do that. Now, the most important thing of this is to have your back straight like this, not to bend your back. Because if you start bending your back, you put pressure on the back as you come down. So the beautiful thing about this, I don't know if you can see me, have a chair here. We brought these chairs in because we like to sit straight up. But if you sit on the chair, use the chair to actually sit on. So if I put to sit in the chair, I'll have a natural process. If I take the chair away and I sit down, I'm following the same routine. Do you understand? And the next thing that's very important is that your knee here doesn't go out over your toes. So when I do this movement, that my knee doesn't go out this way, that I keep everything straight and square. So I can do this from a seating point of view when I'm sitting at the computer. So if I want to get up, I might do this a couple of times and just stand up and sit down. But that's activating. And believe it or not, it's one of the most powerful ones, because what actually happens is you activate a lot of the body's processes. And as I said, it's one half of your body. So it's probably the best exercise in terms of that, but also activates your core. So actually it's one of the biggest exercises for building your abs, believe it or not.
No,
Great. No, that's
can't wait to see the
really
six-pack
pragmatic.
on.
Yeah, I was funny. I actually did get a six-pack last week, and it was really hilarious because what happened was I sat out in the sun, and whatever way the sun and the creases on my belly, when I stood up, it had all the stripes going across. So it looked like I painted on a six-pack rather than having one. It was just six-pack over layers of fat. I think that's really pragmatic advice in terms of something that people can do now and can do consistently during the day. And I think it's just trying to start the cycle is the hardest part.
Yeah.
The hardest part for people.
I think if they have the opportunity and they're looking for an overall huge builder and calorie burner, and just even from a fitness point of view, the burpee, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal exercise. Look it up on YouTube, and it's a great one. You can do it in all different kind of ways. There's different ways of doing it, but obviously you need a nice bit of space, nice clear area, and kind of dress, I suppose, for it as well. The squat, or the chair squat as we call it, is you can do that. You can push the chair back and then go up, sit down like we just did there, or you can push the chair out of the way. And another nice little one is just to hold that position in that squat position as well, because it's a very good exercise. Start practicing your breathing as you're doing it as well. So they're all big builders.
Mm.
Right, so once again, I leave these sessions wanting to know more, and that you've given me insights, but there's, any one of these areas could have taken up the entire webinar. So once again, as per every other week, the video and slides from today will be available on the ICBE site later on. Today is, the last of the 6-week series that we have planned with Jason and Declan. And we hope we'll have an announcement about something similar in the future, but we would love to hear back from you what you thought of the series, and if you'd like us to continue and have another one. And finally, my thanks to Jason and Declan from KD Corporate Wellness for the guidance, I suppose, and the inspiration and enthusiasm you showed over the last 6 weeks. Personally, I found it extremely helpful. And to everyone who attended over the last 6 weeks, thank you very much for your time. We do hope that it was of help to you. And if you'd like to hear more, we would love to hear from you. Jason and Declan, thank you very much. I've a lot to think. I've tried to tease water through everything. And when I was trying to summate today, I was thinking that, you taught me on the mental wellness part to think water in terms of glass half full rather than glass half empty. I need to hydrate my brain so that my brain works. And if I don't hydrate myself for exercise, I can't have that 1 tablespoon of salt, which you showed me from a few weeks back. But once again, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you all again at another series.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Really
thank you so much. And thank you to everyone. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, lads. Bye-bye.
All the best.